Yeah, well, this morning I was sort of like working on this.
We're live.
And,
We're live on Facebook now.
Fantastic.
We've connected. So yeah, I don't know if you wanted to end up putting a full stop on that story or keep going.
Oh, no, just this morning, you know, for about 2 hours, I had no electricity and I thought, you know, what am I going to do this afternoon? But luckily it came on, and fingers crossed that it stays on and doesn't go off again.
And look, look, in the end, Ros, I say technology, right? You can't live without it and you can't depend on it.
No, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you.
Simple. So if we do come across with any, you know, shortages, cuts today in our session, ladies and gentlemen that are watching us, we're very, very sorry. So I think the solution would be we would postpone it. We would say, you know, we'll come back a couple of hours later, or we'll do it another day and make up one. There's always a solution, Ros. That's the way I look at it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. I've got to stop saying absolutely. I noticed that I keep saying absolutely, absolutely. I'm like a parrot.
But I think it's when we're comfortable with some words, that's what we often use. And I use a lot the back end with the team.
I love the back end. That always gives me a giggle.
Today, there's 1 minute to go before we go live on our Zoom. Just people are waiting in the waiting room. They're getting them in shortly. But we've got nearly the whole entire IDP Turkey working today. We've got another session coming up at 4 p.m. For the services we provide as IDP. What do we do?
Oh, fantastic.
We've had over 200 registrants for that. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to having some fun with the team, actually.
Yeah. And so this is all your services that you have, for universities and for students, everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that'll be really informative.
Yeah. And we've got the breakout rooms. I mean, you're quite experienced with the breakout rooms, but, you know, we've started using it.
They're wonderful. And you know, you can sneak in and watch them.
Yes, that's what I'll be doing today. So not sneaking in, I'm just going to come in and introduce myself. But we've got one of our regular viewers. He's writing in chat. Hi, Batu. Hi, everyone. I think we'll kick off. It's 3 p.m. at the moment, and Bura's back. So we'll just wait for people being let in. So let's kick off, you and I, just with a general convo, and then I'll do the housekeeping, and then we'll kick off the session.
Okay.
How's the weather in Ega?
Oh, beautiful, but a little bit windy today and a bit cooler. And there's light jumper on inside today because my house is always freezing. But in the summer, my house is absolutely wonderful. But in winter, it's like a deep freeze.
Nice and cool.
What about you?
Istanbul was quite warm yesterday. I mean, we're in a three-day lockdown. My favorite, not. It was quite warm yesterday, but after midnight, amazing rain. There was like amazing lightning going on here. It was just the skyline was just so bright. Lots of rain, and then woke up this morning, no rain again. But it's very overcast today. Just looking out the window, it's very overcast. So
I love storms.
Yeah.
I do. I just think it's spectacular, the display of lightning and thunder, and you know, and also where I'm living here on the Aegean, I've had my first experience with earthquakes as well too.
Yes.
So that's quite interesting. Yes.
Not very.
Lying in bed, watching the house sort of sway backwards and forwards, sort of thinking, oh, you know, because I've never experienced one in Australia.
No, I've never experienced one in Australia either until just the recent years they've started with minor earthquakes, haven't they? I don't recall earthquakes, but I lived my first earthquakes in Turkey as well. So, okay, I think we've got quite a few people in now. I think we'll crack on. I'll just do my housekeeping. Welcome everybody. Hoş geldiniz arkadaşlar. Bugünkü eğitimimiz Academic Reading. IELTS Academic Reading üzerine. İsmim Seval, IDP IELTS'ın yetkilisiyim, Türkiye yetkilisi. IELTS uzmanımız Roz'la birlikteyiz bugün tekrar sizlerin karşınızda. Kameralarımızı kapatıyoruz arkadaşlar. Sadece hani hatırlatmalar yapmak istiyorum. İnternetimiz gelip gitmesiyle dolayı onu biraz kurtaralım istiyoruz. Sesimizi kapatıyoruz. Herhangi sorunuz, bugünkü IELTS Academic Reading ile ilgili sorularımızı chat kutusuna yazın. Ben oradan takip edeceğim. Arkadaşlarımız, ekip arkadaşlarım var sağ olsunlar, bayağı kalabalığız bugün. Sizlere de destek olmaya çalışacağız. Bunun haricinde fotoğraf çekebilirsiniz. Rose'un böyle bir 5-6 sayfalık bir PowerPoint'u var bugün, sunumu var. Fotoğrafları çekebilirsiniz. Kullanabilirsiniz kendi öğrencilerinizle. Fakat yani internete sunmanızı çok istemeyiz. Çünkü Rose kendisi bunları hazırlık yapıyor. Bunun haricinde tekrar hoş geldiniz ve sit back, relax diyeceğim. İyi eğlenceler. Again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, or welcome to the newcomers today. So I'm Saval, I'm the country manager of Turkey, IDP IELTS Turkey. Today, here with Roz, our IELTS expert. Just a couple of quick reminders. We keep our cameras switched off. If not, my team, not at the back end, our team that's working behind the scenes will switch off your cameras. And just keep your microphones on mute, please. We'd really appreciate it. Just saving on a bandwidth. I know I'm based in Istanbul. There's a lot of electricity cutoffs, a lot of internet issues that are happening currently. So just trying to get through this session as healthy as we possibly can. It should take about 40 to 50 minutes today, maximum, we're saying. Pop your questions into the chat box. We will keep it simultaneous. We'll keep it interactive. And last but not least, take your photos. Roz has got another great PowerPoint up here. 5 or 6 slides, I think. I asked Roz, what's your last slide? She said, I'll tell you, this is my last slide. So keep your photos on, keep your cameras on, and enjoy. Kick back and relax and enjoy the session. Roz.
Hi again.
Kick it off.
Okay.
What are we doing today? What's our...
So reading. And I love reading, but a lot of people don't like reading. What about you?
I love reading. I love reading different genres, though, different types. I love biographies. Mm-hmm. I'm actually watching a documentary at the moment. I love reading articles. So I'm a big fan of Harvard articles. So
yes.
I'm currently reading the HBR quite regularly, on a daily basis, really, just picking out an article and just reading. So
yeah, me too. I've got to say that I like to sort of keep up to date with everything. You know, I'm reading this book at the moment, 100 Years of Solitude, which is just a novel, but I love immersing myself in novels and becoming sort of like part of the story. If it's well written, of course, you can do that. At the same time, I think, you know, one of my passions are National Geographics. I get so much information out of them, and I learn so much from them as well. And even I learn new words because, you know, like no one, even as a native speaker, knows every word in the dictionary. And it's always interesting for me to learn something new. Absolutely. Yeah. What about you?
I totally agree. When I was little growing up in Australia, there were some novel books that our teachers used to say, go home and read these. And I don't know the proper name for it. Maybe you do. It's where you read the novel, but at the end, before you get to the end, it gets you to choose a scenario. So I think my traits now is showing from when I was little, having a bit of control. I used to choose which one I wanted. So do you know the name of those sorts of novels? Because I was explaining.
Well, I guess it's just conclusion completion. Yeah, maybe something. Maybe there is a proper name, but I'm unaware of it. Yeah. But anyway, sorry.
I was going to say that just supports that we don't know every single word either, even as natives.
Absolutely. And I'm the first one to put my hand up and say, look, I'm sorry, I don't know that. And I don't profess to know everything either. But yesterday was a great day because I spent it in the garden and I was reading my book and I also did some gardening. Now, Saval, did you know that yesterday was World Naked Gardening Day?
No, really?
And I've got a little photo. I've got a little photo to share with you. My dog naked in the garden. I bet you panicked then.
My heart skipped a couple of beats, but it's good.
because she's had a shave, and so she's naked.
Gorgeous. You know what, Ross? The previous session on last Tuesday evening, Alvia was asking, can we meet Ross's dog? So can we get the name of this?
Gelge.
Gelge. Is that her name? Wow,
yeah.
What a beautiful name.
So she's just 10 years old now, and I've had her since she was this little puppy about 4 weeks old. So hopefully she won't interfere with our lesson. So you really freaked, didn't you? You thought I was going to put a picture up of me naked. No. That's why I didn't want to show you the PowerPoint before we started.
Thanks for sharing, Ross.
Okay. Here we go. We're getting into it now. So, of course, all of you know that IELTS academic reading, you're allowed 60 minutes to complete 40 questions in total. And you get 3 passages. So therefore, you have to manage your time and allocate 20 minutes for each one. Generally, from my experience, I've noticed that the first reading is generally a lot easier and quicker, and then it gets more difficult and more difficult towards the third one. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's just something I've noticed.
Spot on.
Yeah. Now, when you're doing the reading, that whole idea of the reading is to prepare you for academic life in university, where you're reading lots of passages, you're having to educate yourself. So you have to recognize writers' opinions, you have to read for gist, you have to read for detail. You have to also recognize people's attitudes and why they've written this article or text. And you have to have the ability to skim and scan extremely quickly. And also identify, I've got to stop looking at you, Survive. You're grinning away there. I'm going to have to cut you off soon. Excuse me. So you have to have the ability to identify main ideas, and also that's part of your writing ability as well. So everything helps each other. If you understand main ideas from reading, it will help you in your writing. And you've also got to understand opposing ideas and also argument about them. Now, a lot of people don't understand what gist means, and gist means understanding the general meaning of a text. You don't have to understand everything, but you can understand the general meaning. And this is a really useful skill to learn for academic reading. Now, to skim is to read quickly for main ideas, for key information. And to scan is to quickly look for a word, date, or name, etc. If you think of someone's name in the middle of a text, or a word, one particular word, or a date, they're always easy to find. So your eyes can just quickly look at the whole article and you can zoom in on the date or the name of someone. They're always going to be used in IELTS tasks. Now, there's many different tasks, therefore it's important to practice. And actually, there's 11 different types of tasks that you may be asked about. It's important for yourselves to read daily, look up vocab that you don't know in an English dictionary. Please don't do Turkish to English because, as I've said before, often because there's so many more words in the English dictionary, there's not the correct I've forgotten the word. You won't get the correct meaning of the word if you use Turkish to English. You must use an English to English dictionary if you have to.
Mm-hmm. Is this the end of the first slide, Ross?
Yes. Yep.
Can you just take it back again?
Yep.
Okay. I just want to share with everybody as well, Ross, when you shared how long it goes for, 60 minutes. And when I say with IELTS reading, the time is lethal.
Yeah.
The time factor is one of the most important parts of the reading section of IELTS, because a lot of the test takers walk out and say, I didn't have enough time. And that's why Ros, with your 3 points here saying that the gist, the skimming, and the scanning, they are
Critical.
very like a must. That's the only way you'll get through the reading.
Absolutely.
So sorry, I've just gave some time for people to take a photo. That's why as well. So when you move on to the next parts, I'll explain to people what my previous experience was with reading.
Okay, great. Okay, so now we're just going to go into all the different tasks that you may have. So the first one would be identifying information, true, false, or not given. This is one of the trickiest I find from my experience with candidates, because a lot of times they guess that it's there, whereas it's actually not there. They say, oh, but I'm sure that the writer means this. No, if it's not written, it's not given. And false means it's the opposite of what is in the text. All right. And then not given means it is not confirmed or contradicted in the text. Please don't guess. Be absolutely certain that you've found the correct place. Then the next task could be a note completion of a summary, a table, flowchart, or note. And it's usually based on one part of the text, not the whole text. And answers will not always be found in the order of the text. So, for example, you may find the answer to question 1 in the first paragraph, and you may find the answer to question 2 in the last paragraph, and then question 3 might come back to the third paragraph. It'll jump all over the place. So don't expect to find the answers in order. I've actually written, there's 4 types that do have them in order. I've written them on the following slides. So for this type of task, you should quickly find the paragraphs in the text after identifying keywords in the questions. All right. Next one would be a diagram label completion. Now, this one, the answers will usually come from one section. However, they may not always be in the order of the text. That means you might have 1 or 2 paragraphs that all the information is in, but in those 1 or 2 paragraphs, the information might jump. So you have to read it carefully. You have to look at the numbering and the questions carefully. Please, please, please read the instructions carefully. For example, now I've written this on a few. No more than 3 words or a number is an example. It could be no more than 2 words or a number. Now, remember that hyphenated words count as 1 word. And you can write your numbers as either written figures or words. It's no problem. But please, no more than the instructions say.
I'm just going to jump in. We've got a quick question or a comment from Jita saying, I couldn't find the exact meaning of a couple of words. Could you explain them to me? They are cultural agitator, cognitive inhibition.
Okay, so
frail state-owned age.
Frail?
Frail.
Frail means very, like old. You're frail. You can't walk as well as you used to. And what went with that, frail?
Frail state-owned age. So it's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's to do with elderly people who are not as sprightly as they used to be, not as physically capable as they used to be. And the other one?
Cognitive inhibition.
So cognitive is all about your ability to listen and speak. And so sometimes people are shy.
Okay. And last one, cultural agitator.
An agitator is someone who actually likes to stir people up. They like to sort of have their opinion and voice their opinion at any time that they're given a platform. So if it's a cultural agitator, that means that there's someone who's actually, sort of agitating the rest of their society.
Yep.
I hope that's explained it for her.
Yes, thank you very much. So basically, Ros, just going over your slide here, I think out of the 9 squares, that bottom right-hand one where you say, read the instructions carefully. I would say we must definitely embed this into everybody. Yeah. It's the question, because in the reading, I mean, I'm sure you'll cover it a bit later on as well, but when it says no more than 2 words or 3 words, very, very important.
Yes.
We see a lot of test takers that lose marks because they go over that. It's just a simple mistake that they make when they can just simply read the question. So thanks for that.
No, thank you. All right, the next one. Matching headings. Now, the headings, when you have to match a heading, it's the main idea of a paragraph. And there's always more headings listed than required. So don't think you could do the process of elimination, as many candidates will try. And maybe not all paragraphs are included. And generally they have Roman numerals. Now, I've put an example of Roman numerals up. So it's, 1, and then the next one is 4, the next one is 10, and then 6. So if you don't know what Roman numerals are, it doesn't matter, just as long as you match them up accordingly. Now, with this matching headings, I found that the best way to do this, and the quickest way, is to read the first sentence carefully, like not slowly, but carefully, and then skim down the rest of the paragraph and then read the last sentence carefully. And that way, generally, the main idea will be in the first sentence or the last sentence, and you'll be able to pick it up quickly. The next task possible would be multiple choice. Now, I've put these in red. Questions always in the same order as the text. So you'll go paragraph 1, paragraph 2, they'll always be in order. And again, I always recommend going for keywords from questions first, and then skim and scan for the info. You may, and you really need to know about synonyms, my favorite word, synonyms. You have to know about synonyms and paraphrasing, because you will not find the exact word that's mentioned in the question in the text. Yes.
Question, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Did you say read the question first, regardless of type of the question, and then find the answer?
I go opposite to what everyone else says.
Thank you, because that's the IELTS way.
Oh, really?
Well, see, this is the way I've first, and then find the answer.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the way I've always taught people to do it, is forget about reading it. Don't read it. Stop. Questions, keywords.
Yep.
Yeah. You haven't got enough time. You're not sitting on the back deck of a boat going for a cruise. You're in an exam situation. So you've got 20 minutes to do each reading. The next task could be a matching information, where you have to find an example of a reason, a comparison, specific details, or an explanation, a summary, or a description. Again, keywords from questions, then scan for info. Now, this task generally doesn't relate to main ideas. It mainly relates to specific details, such as understanding a summary, maybe a definition, or details. I'll leave that up for a second before I go on.
Before you go on, a question here from Batu. Batu says, what about reading the last sentence after reading the first and the second sentences? Is that useful?
Okay, so what I mean by this is when you're matching headings, you read the first sentence, you skim down, you read the last sentence, because the main idea, and that's what you need to match headings, will either be in the first sentence or the last sentence. That's where we generally write our main ideas. We introduce the paragraph with what we're going to write about. So we introduce it with the main idea, and then we put the supporting evidence. And some people may write the other way around. They'll put down evidence and then they'll put the main idea last. So you just have to be prepared.
Okay. So I think, so it does, he's still going on. So it does not mean we can find the main idea from the first sentence, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. First sentence, skim down, last sentence in the paragraph. I'm not talking about the whole writing.
Yeah.
I'm talking about in a paragraph. And then you'll be able to match headings easily.
Thanks, Ross.
Right.
Yep, we can move along.
Great. Next one would be matching features. So then you've got to match features, for example, age groups or names, etc. And it is possible to use one answer more than once if you're instructed to. I know a lot of people do not like reading instructions. Read instructions. You must. And maybe not all are used. So you have to be careful. So again, keywords from questions, skim for info, and recognize opinions, etc., and facts. Identifying writers' views or claims. So this is a yes, no, or not given. And it's trying to test your ability to recognize opinions or ideas. Again, as I said before, no means that the question or statement does not agree with the writer, and not given means that the statement or question cannot be confirmed or contradicted. Gone against, that means gone against. So be careful, don't guess that the writer could mean this. Definitely not. It's either there or it's not. Be hard on yourself. Argue with yourself. Next one will be short answer questions, and this relates to details and factual information in the text. Again, I've got in red, questions always in the same order as the text, so you'll run down. And this one is another one that has instructions, for example, no more than 3 words and or a number, hyphen out a word count as 1 word, and numbers can be written as figures or words. I'll leave that up.
So can I just, I mean, why are you leaving that up? We don't have any questions, but I want to add a few things here. Numbers can be written as figures. When I go out and do these presentations, I always advise, try not to use the words, just use the number, the figure.
It's quicker.
It's a lot quicker, a lot less risk of spelling mistake as well. And that really, really saves. So if, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, Roz, I'm just trying to give a few tips of my own as we're going.
You go for it. It's wonderful.
If you're taking the paper-based test, handwriting is absolute critical. In the paper-based, because we used a pen and paper and we're rushing through it, and it's an exam situation, our handwriting can get a bit rushy. You know, if you're using joint writing, if everyone's got their own style. But when we look at the reading part as well, when we're marking them, they can be mistaken with their handwriting. So an O can always look like an A. So I strongly, personally myself, as well as IDP Turkey, we recommend for paper-based tests is to write in capital letters. That's what we say. Use capital letters. You know, you're a lot safer with that one. The computer delivered, obviously, it doesn't matter. It's all about typing. So, Roz, as I think of some tips, I will cut you off and probably wait for the end.
That's totally fine by me. Totally fine by me. And the other thing we should mention too is with computer-based. In the paper-based, we can circle and highlight things like that with a pencil. Whereas in the computer-based, you can also highlight keywords and the text as well. Yeah,
and you can copy and you can paste on the computer. It's Control-C, Control-V, so it uses the same shortcuts. I think, I don't want to confuse anybody. I was leaving that to the end, but now that you've mentioned computer-based, I find reading is the most useful section on the computer, because on the left-hand side of the screen, you've got the articles, and on the right-hand side, you've got the questions. Whereas in the paper-based, you've got to lick the fingers and flip through the pages, read the question, remember it, and then go back and find it and do all those skills. So very, very big differentiator there within the way it's done, the format of the test. Sorry.
I don't know if I'm correct in advising candidates to do this, but I tell them to rip the pages apart.
Not allowed.
They're not allowed to now.
Not allowed. Yeah. Not allowed. It says it in the instructions. You shouldn't be pulling apart the books either.
Yeah, which is a shame.
We have to keep count of how many pages are there.
Yeah.
So it's all security that we look at. So
that's good. Okay, on to the next one.
Yep.
So the last two will be matching sentence endings. Now, you're given the first half of the sentence and you choose the best answer to complete the sentence. And be careful, there's always more options than questions. So again, you can't do this, you know, elimination strategy that a lot of people love to do. And the questions are always in the same order as the text. Important thing to remember here is that your sentences must be grammatically correct, and look for the main ideas within a sentence. And that way you will be able to match the endings up correctly. And then the last one will be a sentence completion. Again, questions always in the same order as the text. And this tests your ability to find specific information and details. And the instructions, extremely important. It could be no more than 3 words and or a number. And same instructions as before. So I think what we take away from this, and I've got one more slide with all of my tips to come down, is that it's really important to read instructions and not just think, oh, I know this task, I can do it, without reading the instructions. Even as I'm used to IELTS, I would still read the instructions of any task put in front of me before I tried to complete it.
Yep, and I totally agree with what you're saying here. All these different types of question types or the styles that you've given us, you know, matching them and match the headings and match the sentence endings and sentence completions and everything else that you've got here. I think, Rolls, what it comes down to is, and I'd love to see the tips that you've got down, because I may have some to add or may not.
Oh, good.
I don't know. No, you've probably covered all bases, but I think the most critical thing here is to read the question, understand that question, see what it wants. I think that's where it all ends.
Yep.
You know, a yes, no, not given. We can provide all our skills, all our tips and tricks to all our viewers of how to do it. But I think if they're not reading the question correctly, accurately, that's where they lose the scores. That's where the marks are gone.
Okay, so these are some of my tips, and we can also add some from you, Saval, as well. For me, you have to manage your time, 20 minutes per passage. Some people like to start off on number 3. Some people say, oh no, I want to do the easy one first. It's totally your choice, but manage your time. Next one would be always read the instructions carefully. We keep saying that. It's important. Do not read all the passage first. Totally unnecessary, totally unnecessary. You don't need to, nor do you have the time to do so. Read the questions first and circle or highlight on the computer-based exams the key words. Choose 1 or 2. They could be question words like who or what or where. They're the key words, people, you know, they're the key words. Skim scan for keyword synonyms in the text and read around that word to find the answer. If you do not understand the vocabulary, and there's a 99% chance you're not going to understand every word that's written in the passage, don't panic, don't stop, keep going. The more you read around that word, the more you will understand, because generally it will explain it to you in a different way. Match ideas, not words, because generally the same word will not be used in the text or passage as the one in the question. So if the question says blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, with this word in that, like for example, logical, and you want to try and find logical in the text, you won't find it generally. You'll have to find a synonym of logical. That makes sense, could be a phrase that they would use. Understand paraphrasing. It's very important to getting through the IELTS reading. And when you're writing your answer, there is no excuse for not spelling the word correctly. As Saval said, write them in the paper-based test in capital letters so that your spelling can be understood. the word is actually in the reading. And if you can't look at the spelling and copy it over, there's something wrong. So please spell the word correctly. And then ensure that your answer is grammatically correct. If it should have a preposition in there, make sure it's got a preposition in there. If it shouldn't, it shouldn't. Now, this is one useful way that I skim. Now, I would start in the middle of the paragraph and I would put my finger in the middle of the paragraph, all right? And then I just follow my finger down like that, going. Now, as I do that, I'm using my peripheral vision. Now, peripheral vision means side vision. So if you put your finger there, you're following your finger, but you're actually looking out to the left and you're looking out to the right at the same time. And that way, you're doing it quickly and you can find keywords and paraphrasing synonyms really quickly. Excuse me. And so try practicing that method of skimming. And this is the most important point. Don't expect to have read the whole passage by the time you've finished answering the questions. You don't need to. It's not important. Forget it. All you have to do is answer the questions in the time allocated using your skills of skimming, scanning, and understanding the use paraphrase. And hopefully, if you could do all that, you could bring it together. Right? That's it from me, Saval.
Thanks, Roz.
What, any others you'd like to add?
Just listening to you as well, I just, I just get some memories of some ideas that I can share with our viewers. But we've got some questions as well, which I'll save to the end. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your questions in. I will get through all of them. So the skimming, scanning is amazing. And I didn't know that's how you would do it with put your finger down. I mean, I was observing, watching you to say, okay, I can learn from it. But it's amazing. We've all got this different way that we can, skim and scan through the text. Read the top sentence and then the last sentence in a paragraph and get the gist get the idea basically. So these are all techniques that you can use, not just for IELTS, but I think in general, right? When we're with limited time and we want to get something. But again, I want to underline, it's the way we read, the way we comprehend it. When you comprehend the question correctly, it just makes your life easy in this 60 minutes test that you've got. Roz, going through your tips and like 20 minutes per task, I never even thought of it. But if that's something that's working well for you and your students, I think, yes, that's a way to go ahead with it. But when you said at the start, the first passage is a slightly more easier than, and it gets challenging and challenging. So ladies and gentlemen, you can really look at if it's 20 minutes, if not 15 minutes, and you can, spread it out. So what Roz's tips here, it doesn't mean that you have to do exactly.
No.
It's what suits you.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to reading a question, no more than 2 words, like we get a lot of responses. Years and years ago, I used to be one of the markers, not anymore. So I can disclose this because I'm not a marker for reading. I can say I used to be. And we used to see a lot of points being given away or scores being given away when the test taker wouldn't read the question, say 2 words, no more than 2 words. Or they'd say, what is the correct word? So coming back to the no more than 2 words, it's critical that you make sure it's no more than 2 words. So Roz, can you just repeat, when there's a hyphen in that word,
that counts as one word.
One, right? And then you've got your words that are a, the, is, that's also one word.
One word. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Contractions. What are contractions?
What are contractions? 2
words. Like it's
not.
Yeah, can't. So if you wrote it as can't, that's actually 2 words.
2 words, yeah, because it's actually cannot. So be very careful with them with the word limit. Plurals is unfortunately a trap, because if the question says fill in the gap or find a missing word, if it's dog and you write dogs, it's wrong.
It's incorrect. Yeah.
Yeah. So very, very careful with plurals. True, false, not given questions. You don't have to write the whole word true. Just put the T or put the F. NG for not given. So Some people write yes, a Y for true. That's also accepted. I think one of my favorites part about IELTS is it's so fair. It's the fairness I see in the background. You know, if it's American spelling, if it's English spelling, British spelling, it accepts either one at any stage in the reading. So it doesn't say you have to start with the American style and end it in American. You can combine it in the reading section. It's not like what the writing section that we covered over the weeks. So as we're going through, I'm remembering to give you guys on these extras too, but like I'm not a marker any longer. I just want to go through the questions. Yeah, ready? Roz, we've got a few questions coming out here.
Okay.
And it's really up high in the page, so I don't miss out on anyone's. So Bottle was the last question that we had read, which was reading the top sentence and the second last sentence. Here we go from Bura. We can write 2 numbers and 1 word in a no more than 3 words and or numbers situation, right? So 2 numbers and 1 word.
Actually, no, because it says if the instructions say write 3 words and or a number. Means 1.
So no more than 3 words and slash or numbers.
Or numbers, okay.
There's no
Yeah. If there's no it's okay.
So they can do 2 numbers and a word.
That's right.
Thank you. Bora, that was for you. Totalai's got a question. Don't we write the same word in text for matching sentence endings? I didn't get that right the correct grammatically. Don't we write the same word in text for matching sentence endings? So if you want to go back, I think to your text for matching sentence endings.
Matching sentence endings.
I didn't get correct grammatically write it correctly. They didn't understand that part. Ensure that your sentence is grammatically correct. Look for the main ideas.
Yeah. So if I wrote a sentence, like let's look at this, look for the main ideas within a sentence. If I wrote that as look for the main ideas sentence, it's not grammatically correct. I've got to actually say within a sentence to make it grammatically correct. So it means that your grammar is correct in the sentence that you're writing down as an answer. And that, you know, for example, if you read the first part of the sentence and you've got to match it up with an ending, it's very easy to choose it because it will be grammatically correct, because sometimes you can't have a preposition going on to something else. So you'll understand it.
Okay, great. Oya's got a question. Can we start tasks in any order we want on the computer delivered? So any task as in questions, I think, Oya, yes, you can click on to any question you like at the bottom of the page, and you can get any question you want anytime with the reading. So, because it's very self-controlled, self-managed. Bura's got a question. Bura, can we highlight the keywords from the questions as well on the computer? From the questions, can we highlight? Oh, good question. Team, IDP team, help me please. I'll ask in Turkish as well.
I actually saw a video, and yes, you can.
On the question parts, we can highlight?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Rob.
Just confirm that.
I want to check.
Yep.
Reading kısmında sorularda highlight yapabiliyor muyuz? Buraya Buğra Bey'e cevap yazabilir miyiz? Yani herkes görsün diye, please. So Buğra will get my team to write the answer. Melissa's asked us a Turkish question. Can we use abbreviated or shortened words? So true, T for true, yes, so I've already responded to that. Yes, for them, you can. Jada, your question is about the writing task. Can I come to that at the very end, please? Just so we get through the questions for this reading. How can we improve paraphrasing skills? Any suggestions?
Reading. Yeah. Reading and increasing your vocab range.
Different types of reading, types of genre, would that make a difference as
well?
Roz?
Of course, yeah, of course. Because even though you're doing an academic test, the more skills that you have in understanding, the better off you'll be.
Okay. Yep. So I've got some people just writing to one another, responding to each other's questions, which is awesome. I love this chat.
Yeah.
It just interacts everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Trying to work on some statement questions. Yeah. Could you turn up the microphone, please? Oops. I hope you heard us, Mehmet Bey. Oh, someone's written a comment here saying, no, contractions are not allowed in the academic exam.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So that's why I said, don't write them.
Because number one, they're considered 2 words.
That's right. Yep. So you can't write them. But also we don't use contractions in academic.
Thank you for that. There's no name, but HRD, thanks for that. Madtam's asked, can we also write all capital letters at the computer-based exam? Of course you can, Madtam, but it's just a push of a button. It's the caps on or caps off. It doesn't matter on the computer because it's got the same language of letters. So it's more or less for the paper-based that we always say use capitals. Again, another question. Love it. How can I improve in my paraphrasing? Words are so difficult. Sometimes it will be similar between the lines. Any more tips on paraphrasing? I know you said reading.
Yeah, like for me, reading is the most useful way of increasing your ability to paraphrase, because as you read, you're going to come across vocabulary that you don't know. And I've said this for the writing as well. Once you come across that vocabulary, you look for synonyms that in the dictionary, and then you can understand when the word has been replaced with a synonym. So that's paraphrasing a word.
Okay, so I think synonyms is another underliner here. Gdale's got a comment. I've never ever confronted with it, but when Roz said a and the, when an answer included a or the, is that counted in only 2 words? I think Gdale's question is
yes, it is. It's a word.
They're counted as words, definitely.
Yep.
My team's written a response here, computer delivered IELTS. You can highlight the questions. So yes. How much, the question from Suda is how much I should study for reading exam. How much time do they need to actually prepare themselves for a reading exam? Roles, do you think?
As much as they need. It depends on their skill level before they start. So if you've got high level reading skills, well, you should just look at all of the practice tests that you can find and start practicing with them. Whereas if you've got lower skills, you really need to build up those skills to get to your required band score.
It's the building blocks anyway, isn't it?
Yes.
It depends on your level.
Yes.
A question here from an interesting, which is a good question. How can I improve my skimming and scanning? What do you recommend?
Well, that's why I said I use my finger and I run it down. And this takes a bit of practice of using your peripheral, your side vision, okay? But if you run it down the center, you're focused on your finger, but you're not moving your eyes, but you're looking out either side. It takes a little bit of practice, but once you master it, it's really, really useful.
I think we'll take the last 3 comments, questions, and Hamid, thanks for your name. I've seen that. Last 3 questions, guys. It's paraphrasing is an obligation, or can we write what it writes exactly in the text? Do we have to paraphrase is the question from Badke.
It depends on what the instructions in the question asked you to do.
Yep. And Idam has asked us, is the 3rd article, so the 3rd piece of writing, the hardest one with more abstract ideas?
Generally they'll start off, as I said, easy, get more difficult, and then the last one is the most difficult. And it also generally has the most questions. So what Saval said there before, I suggested 20 minutes each one, but that's the maximum that you're allowed to use. If you use 10 minutes on the first one, well, then you've sort of snatched 10 minutes for the next one. So, that's a win-win situation.
And great comment there, because Iklim's questioned here and said, shouldn't it be 20 minutes for each reading? Ladies and gentlemen, Roz's tips or my tips are just suits us. So you really have to choose what suits you. So if you use 20 minutes for each reading piece, you have to use that time really well. But if you use only 10 minutes for the first piece and you've got another 10 minutes spare in your pocket. So there's no rule. IELTS does not say you must spend this many minutes. This is your choice. So Iklim, I hope I've responded to your question. There's no rule. It's not like the writing tasks.
But just be careful if you spend, like 30 minutes on the first one and the second one, you're leaving yourself short. Absolutely short.
You certainly are. Look, IELTS reading, I think reading in any exams, I would say, it's the time factor. You've got to utilize your time so well. And that's where the skimming and the scanning come in. And that's why we strongly advise that.
And also remember that you won't read it all. You don't need to read it all. You just need to read the questions. Keywords, go to the text. Keywords, go to the text. Keywords, go to the text. Don't read the whole article.
Yeah, I totally agree. So just before we wrap it up, Ros, someone's asked you saying, how can I improve my matching information to paragraphs? How can I improve that skill? Matching information.
Well, it comes down to your grammar. See, so you must practice your grammar and understand, what grammar structures and when they're used as well. So that's the only way that you can do it.
Yeah. So I think we've come to another closing to another session. But before we close off, it flew. It absolutely flew. It's 3:49 at the moment.
Wow.
So someone by the nick Savakako has asked me, will there be any new kinds of questions in the IELTS exam in the future? Any idea? I'm sorry, I've got no idea. The kitchen is Cambridge, based in Cambridge. So I know they've got a dynamite team, lots of people working on the question banks there, but I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't answer your question there. So what we've got, ladies and gentlemen, again, we've got lots of thank you messages, Ros, coming through.
That's great.
Thank you all very, very much for joining us at the academic reading. Can you show us the slides again? Ros, as I'm speaking, closing up, can you go to the start, if that's okay? So they can take their photos, please.
Okay.
So ladies and gentlemen, last Tuesday evening, we did the poll, we did a survey, and it was very close between academic reading and speaking. So we chose to take the academic reading for today, and we won't do a poll today because we're going to do, I hope you're all ready for this. We're going to conduct our next session Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. and it's going to be a live speaking test plus feedback. So Ros will conduct a speaking practice test and she'll provide feedback to that person. So that's happening on Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. It'll be up on our social media real soon, so you guys can register through, or if you've got the Eventbrite account, just come through and register to it. But my team will have it up by tomorrow, let's say latest, or they might even have it up right now, I don't know. So speaking is on Tuesday night. We look forward to having you there, and we'll prepare your questions. Someone's asked for my contact number or email. Very easy, saval.sir@idp.com. Drop me a line. Happy to hear from you. After today's session at 4 p.m., which is the next 9 minutes, I've just got to throw this in to all of you. The next 9 minutes, we've got an IDP, another session. It's about our services. So IDP Education, we're actually the world's biggest, largest organization with travel abroad, study abroad, not travel abroad, study abroad options. I've got my team working on that. So if I can have my team, yep, we've got the Zoom up now. If you've got time, join the Zoom. Can't speak anymore. Join the Zoom. That session will go on till about 6 p.m. But it's not. You'll have breakout rooms. You'll go to different destinations. We've got a room for IELTS. I've got my team in the back end there. Back end again. In the hindsight, my team of IELTS will be responding to your questions. There won't be any marking or scoring questions. So come along, join us if you've got time. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you, Ros.
Again, and thank you for all of your tips as well. That's wonderful. Having two minds are better than one, aren't they?
Pleasure, as always, Ros. Love working with you. And guys, thank you very much. Rachel, seeing your comment, thank you very much. have a wonderful afternoon, Sunday afternoon.
Absolutely.
See you Tuesday night, Roz.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.